Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about Genshin Impact Devil Hunters. So yeah, let's begin, shall we, ladies and gents? So, we would go to the perspective of a blonde woman, as she's currently leaning on, as she would be leaning on a wall, as she would say this. So, in reports on the Traveler, the honorary knight, and the new individual that was in town, she would say. As after hearing that, two, one Fatui agent would say, yes, milady. We've been watching them for a while. Well, it seems that the young man is quite the individual. We didn't hear clearly what he said, but it's clear that he's definitely not from around here. From what we heard, his name is Izuku, and we believe that he's part Irizumin, though I'm not sure how. As she would say, does not matter. Besides, all that matters is if he's going to be a nuisance or not. As he would say, yes, though I do believe that his guns, or his firearms in this case, are definitely not, not normal in a way. Even though he may have guns, it does not mean that he's going to be not. It does not mean that he's going to be that much of a nuisance, since from what we saw, he doesn't have a vision. But considering that she also has no vision, imply targeting towards Lumine, aka the honorary knight, as he would say, it's still better to be cautious. I should say, you're right. Now, let's just continue spying on them for now. As for you, she would say, as she would look towards one of the mirror maidens. Yes, milady, she would say. As she would be bowing, as she would say, report this to the other harbingers. I wouldn't want anything to go wrong. As she would say, very well, La Signora. As she would finally reveal her name, La Signora, one of the Fatui harbingers, the top elite of Shnechanaya. As you go to our protagonist perspective, as we currently see our boy Izuku with Lamine, as they're currently going through the plains of, I guess you could see just like the forest of, sorry, let me just, forest of Mondstadt. As while they're going through it, she would say, so, Izuku, I was wondering about these weapons of yours, especially your sword. It seems to conduct electro. Why is that? As you'd say, oh, it's a normal thing for Alistair. Watch. As after doing so, he would start to conduct electricity, as she would say, wait, how? You don't have a vision, she would say. As Paimon would say, yeah, Paimon thinks this is definitely not normal. Wait, are you just like the Traveler? Are you able to use elements without a vision, she would say? As Izuku would look at them and she would say, well, not necessarily. This is what we call devil arms, he would say. As she would say, devil arms? As he would say, yeah, they're essentially weapons made from a demon's soul. And because of that, it leads to weapons gaining and it leads to some weapons gaining traits from their demon forms. In this case, in this case, my sword Alistair was once a lightning demon. So it makes sense why it would look like this. As when hearing that, she would say, wait, if that's the case then, as you would say, no, my two pistols are not, are not really devil arms. They're actually just normal weapons. I just used them just in case of long-range attacks. As after saying that, he would twirl his pistols as he would start putting them back in his holsters. As she would say, oh, I see. Then, can I also ask, if demons do exist in your world, What are they like? As you'd say, oh, typical stuff. Usually evil, usually causes chaos, blah blah blah. But some, like my grandfather, are actually pretty good guys, even though I never really met them. As you'd say, really? What are they like? As you would say, well, from what I was told by my grandfather, I meant about my grandfather, my, my old man told me about him. Apparently he was kind, and was the reason why Inferno was sealed off. As you would say, really? Why? As you would say, well, apparently he wanted to rebel against the demon overlord there. In this case, Mundus. The reason why is because he fell in love with my grandmother, a human. As you would say, oh, I see. Wow. As you would say, specifically that Paimon would say, whoa, that sounds like a fairy tale or something, she would say. As you would say, yeah, it kind of is. In fact, some cult back in the day did worship my grandfather. Even used that same story as a way of promoting their clan. I meant their cult. As she would say, really? Huh. So how did you feel about that then? Said Lumine. As you'd say, well, to say the least, weird. But honestly, I don't really care since they're all gone. As she would say, ah, cool. So, I guess we're here now, she would say. As after saying that, Izuku would look over and would see the Hilichurl clan. That's when he sees these creatures. And that's when he sees these creatures. Some wielding clubs, some controlling what seem to be slimes. As some of them seem to be just causing chaos, or doing rituals, or at least in his opinion. As they seem to be eating what seems to be just some animals nearby. As you would say, they look like fucking goblins, he would say. As one of them would ask, I mean you're right, but to say the least, they're still a nuisance, so we have to take care of them. As you'd say, fine. So go for the head? As she would say, well, any part that's fine, just get them out of the area. As you'd say, with pleasure, he would say. As he would grab onto his two pistols, Martha and Georgios. As you'd say, alright then, let's dance! As he would jump up towards the Hilichurls instantly. Doing so, he would grab he would grab onto Martha, one of his pistols. In this case, Martha is the white gun. As after doing so, he would fire and causes the poor Hilichurl that got shot to explode. Or at least in the face area, as his head is completely just blown off. Doing so, the Hilichurls instantly notice the attack and would get ready to attack him. As when they saw him, well, they instantly know that they're gonna get fucked over. One of the Hilichurls wielding that of a crossbow, and seems to be a reddish, not really reddish, but more like having like a pyro color scheme, would start shooting out fire arrows at him, which he would dodge out of the way. As doing so, he would grab his as he would grab onto Georgios, the red pistol. Doing so, he would start shooting off rapid fire shots. As this gun, Georgios, is more into rapid fire, or I guess you could say semi-automatic. As doing so, would start ripping through most of the Hilichurls instantly. Doing so, he would ask, hey! As he would look towards Lumine and would ask, are you going to join in, or are you just going to look at the show? As she would say, oh, right. As she would jump over using Animo, aka wind energy. Doing so, she would fly off into the sky and would, as she would plunge her sword into the ground, causing some a shockwave as the villagers nearby her would uh, be would be just flying. Doing so, after doing so, I meant that she would look towards not Rex, I meant Zuko, and would ask, "Alright, let's do this," she would say. She would start using her burst, and would start creating the ball of animal energy and would throw it towards the villagers, causing them to go flying once again as I meant Izuku would wheeled up both Georgios and Martha and would start firing on them, each shot ripping through them like paper. As after doing so, he would look behind them and would see a villager wielding that of a club, getting ready to charge at him. As he would say, "Lucky one." As after saying that, he would grab onto his sword, Alistair. As after bringing out Alistair, he would slice through the villager's arm, kind of like that one scene with like Raiden from not Full Metal Alchemist. I meant to say was yeah, that one scene from like Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, where I can't remember his name, but the Brazilian guy got basically slices off the arm of of Raiden. Yeah, that scene. As when he did that, he would grab onto Georgios and would fire right in the stomach of the fencing villager. Doing so, he would say, "That was fun." As he would grab onto Alistair once again and would start creating lightning from it. As the almost the purple electricity around it, that slowly starts turning into a bluish color. As he would say, "Take this!" As he would thrust towards another fencing villager and would rip its stomach right open, causing it to explode. As after doing so, he would flip and would start slicing villagers in the sky, or at least the ones that were basically like being launched by Lumine using her animal energy. As he would slice through them like paper, but at the same time, meanwhile, we would see a Fatui agent, one chunky one over there, would be watching the whole scene and would say, "Well, shit, we're dead," he would say. As one of them would say, "Yeah, no shit, if we ever try to fight him, we're dead," said one of them. As the Geo agent would go like, "What the fuck is this shit? I'm not paid enough for this," he would say. As one of them would say, "Dude, we're Fatui agents. We need to calm down. Besides, I mean, he's probably like I don't know, maybe like a just electro user, maybe? We can just easily beat, but before they can, they would see, Izuku do this shit. Before they can actually say anything else, Izuku would bring out another weapon. In this case, a massive lance and shield in the shape of what seems to be, well, a Vajra, or at least the spear, or at least the lance's head looks like a Vajra, while the shield resembles that of a Dharma wheel, as he would say these words. "Now let's have some fun. Let's do this, Shiva," he would say, as the name of the weapon would be revealed, Shiva, as he would start creating flames from the actual spear, or I meant lance, and would start to throw, as he would charge in, as when it gets stabbed into the a poor villager, it explodes, as the wheel would start spinning and spinning, as he as he starts to spin I guess you see the shield, and would throw it, as it reveals to be connected to a chain, which also connects to a gauntlet in his right hand. Doing so, it would be thrown like a yo-yo and would rip everything apart. As in the poor villagers that were basically connected with the actual shield. As he would be wielding that of a yo-yo of death. So yeah, we'll be ending off this episode, right off here, guys. So yeah, bye bye.